This is my WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view predictions. Pay-per-view is live tomorrow night exclusively on pay-per-view. And going into this pay-per-view at first, I thought this was going to be, one of those throwaway WWE pay-per-view where they weren't going to really do much on here. But I gotta say, as far as the card for this pay-per-view, it doesn't really look bad at all. I mean, the only thing that looks, that it's going to pull out as far as anything to be terrible on here is probably going to be, the Kane and Khali match. Everything else, looks like, the two title matches could be very, very good. The ECW title match, given time this time, that could be great. And a couple other things on this pay-per-view look pretty good. Now, the one complaint that a lot of people are having about this pay-per-view card is the WWE not including the IC title match between Dolph Ziggler versus John Morrison on this pay-per-view, which I gotta agree with the people. The reason why they're not putting it on this pay-per-view is due to time constraints, yet they just add the U.S. title to here, so I don't know, maybe they just didn't want the IC title online at this pay-per-view for some reason or another, which doesn't make any sense, because at first you're saying, okay, you don't have enough time for it, but you're putting the U.S. title match on here that doesn't really have any build to it. You're putting Kane and Khali on here, match no one cares about. So you got two matches there that really, one no one cares about and one that really doesn't have any build. And at least Ziggler and Morrison kind of has somewhat of a little build to it. And, the IC title's been seeming like, it was going to be a prestigious title. Then John Morrison wins it, and then the first pay-per-view that comes up that he has the title around his waist, he doesn't defend the title, so I don't understand why they're doing that. It doesn't make any sense. That's really the only complaint on here, is the IC title should be on the line on here. Not saying Morrison and Ziggler, I'm not saying it would be a classic match, but it would be a whole lot better than I think the U.S. title match, and it'll be definitely better than the Kane and Khali match. Now, the first matchup will most likely be the U.S. title match with Kofi Kingston defending the United States Heavyweight Championship against The Miz. Now, they haven't really been doing much with Kofi Kingston with this U.S. title, so I'm thinking they're probably going to give the title to The Miz on this pay-per-view, because that's the one thing they're going to have to do with Miz. If he loses this match, he's really going to be lost. They're not going to have anything to do with him, so I see him going over here and winning the U.S. title, and that's pretty much the reason why I think this match is added to this pay-per-view, just to kind of, have The Miz on pay-per-view, have him go over, have him win the mid-card title and the U.S. title, and then start doing something with it and start building him up, because that's the way they seem like they're going to do with The Miz. So see The Miz going over and winning the U.S. championship, U.S. Heavyweight Championship. Now, the next matchup will be Kane versus the Great Khali in a Singapore Kane match. Now, the good thing about this, and there's really not much good about this match, but the one thing that's good about it, at least has a gimmick to it. Maybe the gimmick to this could make it at least a little watchable, but I still don't think it's going to be much of anything. It's a match that shouldn't be on this pay-per-view, and it's just a waste of space. This match should be something that's on SmackDown, not a WWE pay-per-view or any pay-per-view, no matter what. Kane will go over in this match, but like anyone even cares. Now, the next matchup, this match could go either way. This match could be at least solid. I'm thinking it could possibly be at least a solid match, and this is the Unified Tag Team Championship match with Chris Jericho and the Big Show defending the championships against Mark Henry and MVP. Now, the one thing that could make this match good is just as long as Big Show and Mark Henry aren't in the match that much, this could possibly turn out to be actually an okay tag match. MVP and Jericho, I think they could do a lot of great stuff with each other. So I would say if they're in the match for about 75 to 80% of the time, this could at least be, one of those, at least a watchable to an average match overall. Could maybe be better than what I'm actually thinking it's going to be, because that's the way the DX versus Legacy match was at last pay-per-view's WWE SummerSlam. I wasn't expecting anything out of that, and that turned out to be good. So maybe it could be a little shocker. Maybe it'll turn out to be better than what I think, but I think it's going to be at least watchable, maybe decent, just as long as they have MVP and Jericho in there for the most of the time, and Big Show and Jericho will retain the WWE Unified Tag Team Championships. Now, the next matchup will be Christian versus William Regal for the ECW title. Now, just as long as this match gets time, just as long as this match gets 10 to 15 minutes, this could be a great match. This could possibly be one of the top matches of the night. I still think the other two world title matches will be better, but still, this match right here, just given time, it could be very good. And I see Christian retain the ECW Championship. just because, you know, it doesn't look like they're going to get Christian off the ECW brand quite, not yet at least. And I don't think they'll give the title to William Regal. I won't mind either way because I like both of them. But Christian, I will say, Christian will retain the ECW Championship. Given time, could be a very good match. Next matchup is DX, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels versus Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. of the Legacy. And this match is a submissions count anywhere match. Now, this is kind of an interesting stipulation to this match. These two teams had a very good match at WWE SummerSlam. Really enjoyed that. That really, you know, passed my expectations. And maybe this time it could be even better. Now, the one thing I'm kind of curious how this is going to turn out with the whole, you know, submissions count anywhere. Now, that thing right there, it maybe could hurt it, maybe help it. Who knows? We'll have to kind of wait and see how that turns out. It could go either way. It could help it out very well, or it could turn it into a complete clusterfuck. But I see in this match, I see the DX versus Legacy feud continuing. So with that, I'm saying that Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase Jr. will go over in this match some way or another. I'm not sure who's going to tap out. Probably out of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Expect Shawn Michaels to probably tap out. At least that's what I'm thinking is going to happen, and the Legacy will go over, and then we'll have another match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, maybe, you know, a tag team Hell in a Cell match, if they, you know, build it up right. Now, the next matchup will be the first of the two main events, even though I guess you kind of could say three main events. WWE kind of be saying that since you got DX versus Legacy on here, but the first of the main title matches is going to be Undertaker versus CM Punk for the WWE for the World Heavyweight Championship in a submission match. Now, these two, I have very high expectations for this match, but the one thing that I'm kind of expecting already going into this match is that this match might end in some type of disqualification or something on that lines or another. CM Punk, I think, is going to retain the title somewhere or another, but Undertaker is going to technically win the match. It's going to end in disqualification, but Undertaker is going to win the match, but he isn't going to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Then I see Undertaker and CM Punk, I see them having a match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and maybe at that pay-per-view have Undertaker go over and win the championship right there, because the one thing you don't want to do is, obviously, you don't want CM Punk to make the Undertaker submit, because this is Undertaker's first match back on pay-per-view, so that's the one thing. You don't want Undertaker to, on his first match on pay-per-view, come here, tap out to CM Punk. Maybe they could do it in a way where he passes out or something like that, where he doesn't actually tap out, but CM Punk wins that way. Or, you know, have it end in disqualification. But it seems like the way they'll probably book it with CM Punk losing the match via disqualification, but keeping a hold of the title. So, but I think nonetheless, I think even if it ends disqualification, just as long as it's, you know, booked in a good way, because there's actually sometimes matches that end in disqualification can be actually booked pretty well. I mean, just look at Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kurt Angle from SummerSlam 2001. That ended in disqualification. That was an excellent match. If it's booked on that way, it could be, you know, a very good match. But I think, you know, we're just going to get a little taste of what these two can do, because I think this is going to be a feud WWE is going to at least have last until at least, I think, at least maybe till the Survivor Series pay-per-view, or who knows, maybe they'll have it, you know, them to have a match at the TLC pay-per-view in December, since Undertaker did have that, you know, pretty decent TLC match with Edge at Extreme Rules or One Night Stand back in 2008, so maybe they'll have it last that long, because I think since, you know, they have John Morrison with the IC Championship, I think that's going to, you know, have him be in the mid-card for a little bit, then maybe by the time of, you know, March, you know, April, maybe WrestleMania, have him win the Money in the Bank, and then have him contend for the World Heavyweight Championship and win it sometime next summer. That's the way I think they'll do it with, you know, John Morrison. But I think no matter the way this match ends, I think CM Punk and Undertaker should be a very good match. Now, the next matchup will be John Cena versus Randy Orton in an I Quit match for the WWE Championship. Now, the one thing that kind of hurts this match going into is what they pulled off at SummerSlam. I mean, that whole, you know, all the false finishes that came out of nowhere and was very idiotic, and the complete clusterfuck they booked there. So hopefully this time around they don't book anything like this, because these two, I feel, can put on a great match. I mean, we've seen them pull off a great match at SummerSlam 2007. We've seen John Cena in an I Quit match against JBL that was very good. So kind of maybe if you kind of incorporate both of those matches together and kind of have the I Quit style of, you know, the JBL and John Cena match, maybe this could be a, you know, pretty good match. And I don't see John Cena saying I quit. I see at this time John Cena going over, winning the WWE Championship, just because, I mean, they keep giving John Cena so many opportunities for the World Heavyweight Championship, and he keeps on losing, or he doesn't keep the title that long. So I think, you know, right now you're probably going to see John Cena win the title tomorrow night. I know a lot of people are probably going to dislike that, but, you know, it's one of those things WWE kind of needs to do. I mean, John Cena is supposed to be the face of your organization, and you haven't really been doing much with him at all, other than that, you know, very weak title reign he had earlier this year. So hopefully, you know, hopefully this pay-per-view turns out to be pretty good. I'm thinking this pay-per-view should be pretty good, because I think the two title matches should be very good. And just as long as most of the matches are given enough time, especially the William Regal and Christian match, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Submissions Count Anywhere tag team match with Legacy and DX turns out. So yeah, that's it for my WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view predictions. Peace. Make any sense. That's really the only complaint on here, is the IC title should be on the line on here. Not saying Morrison and Ziggler, I'm not saying it would be a classic match, but it would be a whole lot better than I think the US title match, and it'll be definitely better than the Kane and Khali match. Now the first matchup will most likely be the US title match with Kofi Kingston defending the United States Heavyweight Championship against the match no one cares about. So you got two matches there that really, you know, one no one cares about and one that really doesn't have any build. And at least Ziggler and Morrison kind of has somewhat of a little build to it. And, you know, the IC title's been seeming like, you know, it was going to be a prestigious title. Then John Morrison wins it, and then the first pay-per-view that comes up that he has the title around his waist, he doesn't defend the title. So I don't understand why they're doing that. It's probably going to be, you know, the Kane and Khali match. Everything else, you know, looks like, you know, the two title matches could be very, very good. The ECW title match, given time this time, that could be great. And a couple other things on this pay-per-view look pretty good. Now, the one complaint that a lot of people are having about this pay-per-view card is the WWE not including the IC title match between Dolph Ziggler versus John Morrison on this pay-per-view, which I gotta agree with the people. The reason why they're not putting it on this pay-per-view is due to time constraints, yet they just add the US title to here. So I don't know, you know, maybe they just didn't want the IC title online at this pay-per-view for some reason or another, which doesn't make any sense, because at first you're saying, okay, you don't have enough time for it, but you're putting the US title match on here that doesn't really have any build to it. You're putting Kane and Khali on here. This is my WWE Breaking Point 2009 pay-per-view predictions. Pay-per-view is live tomorrow night exclusively on pay-per-view. And going into this pay-per-view, at first I thought this was going to be, you know, one of those throwaway WWE pay-per-view where they weren't going to really do much on here. But I gotta say, as far as the card for this pay-per-view, it doesn't really look bad at all. I mean, the only thing that looks, you know, that it's going to pull out as far as anything to be terrible on here